Yeah, what up, YouTube? Here with a post-fight video for the Devin Haney Jojo Diaz fight. Y'all already know the results of this video. Jojo Diaz fought a good fight. However, Devin Haney won the fight via decision. It was yet another close, compelling, competitive fight in the lightweight weight class. In my previous video, prior to me covering this fight, I had talked about the Gervonta Davis Isaac Cruz fight in my latest video. Y'all go check that out. And that was another close, compelling, competitive fight at 135. And y'all already know the lightweight division is one of the hottest divisions in the sport, and it's been hot, and it's only going to get better from this year on. And yeah, this was one of those fights, man. I personally had the fight score 7-5 in favor of Devin Haney. Devin Haney won via unanimous decision, rightfully so. And yeah, with that being said, let's get to the analysis of this fight. Devin Haney started off very well, like always. He's always, showing out in the beginning round. As soon as he gets out of his corner, he goes to work. And Devin Haney, I've always been impressed by his fundamental skills. His hand speed is immaculate. His footwork is great. The way he was able to control the footing of his southpaw opponent, Joseph Diaz, it was very impressive. He always mixes up his punches. He goes downstairs and upstairs, and he always, finds a different target to hit his opponents at. And and with his hand speed, it's very hard for his opponents to guess where his punches are coming from. He utilizes his angles, and he's a very flashy fighter. And he's if you're really like into boxing, even if you're not, even if you're a casual fan, you'll be impressed by Devin Haney's style, and that's why he's one of those up and coming guys. He headlines his own events at the MGM and shit like that, so you already know, he's implemented himself as, one of the, I wouldn't say the biggest draw in the sport, but he's up there. He's up there. Dude can draw, and he could hold his own to, headline, events and shit like that. And then, like I said, in the beginning round, he had his stamina all up under him, and he didn't absorb, any big shots from his opponent. But the story would change, as we headed to the mid rounds. Jojo Diaz, he didn't back down, came forward aggressively, and he was getting tagged up, and he had to tag Devin Haney back, and he was finding his mark with that overhand left hand, and he kept coming with punches and bunches. And Devin Haney, y'all saw in his previous fight before fighting Joseph Diaz, he was rocked by Jorge Linares, and Linares isn't a big puncher like that, and Linares had Devin Haney going in the wrong corner, had his knees buckling, and Devin Haney, to survive that troubled round, he would have to wrestle Jorge Linares to get out that fire. And Jojo Diaz brought that fire to Devin Haney in this fight as well. And they say pressure is either gonna bust your pipe or is gonna make a diamond out you. And in these last two fights that Devin Haney's had, both his opponents has brought the pressure to him for sure. And as far as Jojo Diaz goes, I don't know too much about him, but he's one of those gatekeepers at lightweight. He has a win over Fortuna, and that was his previous fight before fighting Devin Haney. So it's not like he's a nobody. He's fought Tevin Farmer. He's also fought Gary Russell Jr. And he's not just a bum. Like before Devin Haney lost, his only loss came from, I think, Gary Russell Jr. Yeah, facts. And Devin Haney, he knew that. He knew what he was up against. Just like how Linares is a former lightweight champion. That definitely means he ain't no bum. And Devin Haney, he's been stepping up the ladder for far as the quality of his opponents that he's been fighting recently, and only right that he does that because he is a champion. And champions are supposed to fight championship quality fighters when they put their titles on the line. Period, point blank. And Devin Haney withstood the fire that Jojo Diaz was bringing to him. He had his moment where he was rocked by Diaz's left hand, where he looked like he didn't have his legs up under him, much like the Linares fight, when Linares rocked him. He didn't have his balance. He didn't have his footing. He was on the ropes, bobbing and weaving, trying to hold on to Diaz. And the one thing I noticed about Devin Haney is that he doesn't hide his hurt well. When his opponent rocks him with a solid shot, it shows that Devin Haney's hurt and bothered by it. Not only with his legs being weak, it shows in his face that he's bothered by those punches, and that's when his opponents, start bringing more fire to him and adding that pressure to Devin Haney more. But Devin Haney always, finds a way out. He's got good defense, good head movement, good footwork to get himself out that fire. And when he gains his composure back and the fire kind of slows down, that's when Devin Haney would start finding, his mark, start getting into the rhythm of punching back. And Devin Haney's an accurate puncher, man. And when the pressure slows down and Devin Haney starts, finding his rhythm again and starts loosening up and starts counter-punching, and more times he would have to get away from the ropes in the corner for him to, land his shots. It would have to be him coming off the ropes or in the center of the ring, and that's what he would do. And in the mid to later rounds is when, Diaz would, land his, best punches throughout the fight. And Devin Haney, that was his, yet another big test in the fight, and that came in the mid to later rounds. And Devin Haney survived, and then he went on to go do his thing. And even the late rounds, the championship rounds, were also close as well. It was very competitive. Like I said, my scorecard, it was 7-5 in favor of Devin Haney. Now, after the fight, they asked Devin Haney, who was the winner, and retained his WBC belt. They asked him, hey, we got to make this fight happen. Y'all already know the Gambosis-Lopez fight for majority of the lightweight titles took place like a week or two before the Haney-Diaz fight. So that leaves Devin Haney and George Gambosis as the only two champions at that weight class. Now, before this fight, the zone was hyping up Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez to fight one another. Like, I guess Gambosis, he's not very well known to the American crowd. He's from Australia. He's fought, in the UK and here and there, but he hasn't really made his mark like that in America until he won that fight against Teofimo Lopez. Now they're asking Devin Haney, what about a fight with George Gambosis to see who's going to be undisputed at 135 pounds? Now, Devin Haney, being the confident champion that he is, he went on to say, let's get it. Let's make this fight happen. And George Gambosis, being the warrior that he is, he went all the way to Lopez's hometown to get those titles. And, he wants to go back home and have that, hometown embracement. He wants that fight to happen in Australia. He told Devin Haney that, and Devin Haney's not backing down. He said he'll go to Jupiter to go fight George Gambosis. So he obviously ain't afraid to go to George Gambosa's hometown and fight at his home country of Australia. It's gonna be like probably a sold out crowd somewhere at a soccer or rugby stadium. It's gonna be a huge fight, and it should be for a fight of that magnitude. For all the titles to see who's undisputed at one of the best, most compelling weight classes in the sport currently. Um, yeah, they both draw now. They're both, household names, and I think that fight should be next up. I was saying in my post-fight video for the Gambosis Lopez fight, since it was such a close fight, there should be a rematch. And Gambosis says he ain't got no problem giving Lopez that rematch, and they could go do it in Gambosis' hometown. They already had their first fight in Brooklyn or in New York City because it was at the Madison Square Garden, not Barclays. Um, Nonetheless, that's still Lopez's hometown. They had their first fight at Lopez's hometown. Why not go to Gambosa's hometown? But I don't know if the rematch is gonna happen. You already know I spoke about it in my previous video. Lopez might be moving up in weight, so I don't know. But I think that rematch should also happen. But that's a whole nother topic. But with that being said, Devin Haney and George Gambosis looks like that fight is next in line to happen. Why? Because they're both with the zone. It's an easy fight to make. Yeah, like they're both with the same network. They both work with the zone and Eddie Hearn, so that fight is bound to happen. And both parties seem to be in agreement to make that fight happen. And Devin Haney doesn't seem to have a problem with going all the way to Australia on the other side of the continent, the other side of the world to make this big fight happen. And yeah, I think yeah, if this fight does happen, I'm not going to talk too much about that potential fight. But yeah, hopefully that's the next fight for Devin Haney. And as far as Joseph Diaz goes, I think he still keeps his position as one of those gatekeepers at 135. And with that being said, that sums it up for this video. Y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are in the comments. Subscribe, share if y'all want. Stay healthy, be safe, and peace.